Hello there and welcome to Saturday Nights with 7. I'm your host, as always, the amazing, incredible, and slightly full of himself, 7. It's another Saturday in Denver, Colorado. It's getting a bit nipply out now that we're in winter, but fortunately it's not too so I'm going to apologize right off the bat because I know that the sound quality can't be stellar. Unfortunately, if you notice, most of the time when I have this, I have a little earphone in. So I'm using my headset mic because it generally gives you a little bit cleaner audio. But unfortunately, I left that at home, and rather than miss another, Saturday episode, I decided I'll just deal, and hopefully you won't be too angry at me for doing this. Sorry, shit like this sometimes happens. So it's time to once again play the amazing, cool new game that everybody's playing, Guess That Accent. Occasionally you get somebody in your car, or you get somebody that you're meeting out in public that has like a really thick accent, but it's very hard to isolate. And I don't know if it's just me or everybody, but I have a really hard, if somebody has an accent, I feel really bad about saying, hey, what's your accent? Where are you from? Because sometimes, what if I say, hey, where are you from? And they're like, I'm from here, I'm native born. And I'm like, then why don't you sound like me? You have those moments where you're asking for an awkward situation to happen. I mean, generally speaking, if somebody has a kind of an odd accent, you could be relatively assured that they're probably not they're probably not local to this area, and you can casually, there's ways to go about casually asking where somebody's from, but it always seems just a little bit impolite to me to term it that way. And sometimes even if somebody does have an accent, like a British accent, incredibly easy to place. French accent, very easy to place. I actually can pick out some different dialects of Spanish, actually. If somebody is speaking Spanish in my back seat and they're Colombian, I can almost immediately pick it out because my stepmom's Colombia. My stepmom is Colombia. Definitely Colombia. No, she's from Colombia. She's my mom, Hi, Mom, if you're watching this. I don't know why you would be. Stop watching my YouTube channel. Anyway, that accent is, the Colombian dialect of Spanish is very, very characteristic. Actually, a lot of the dialects are, but I can pick it out of a lineup almost instantaneously. But, tonight, I had a girl from what I think was actually Turkey, because she mentioned she was singing a song, because she's just, drunk people. She just started singing this song, and it was really actually kind of a beautiful song, and then she said it was Turkish, and I'm like, does that mean you're from Turkey, or where exactly are you from? And I could not for the life of me place her accent. So, I guess that speaks on me being a bad citizen of the world and not knowing where everybody's from, but, sometimes accents are always cool, but sometimes kind of problematic in that they're hard to place, unfortunately. Everyone has that one that got away. And you know what I mean by that. There's always that one individual, whether it's a girl or a guy or somewhere in between, or, regardless of your orientation, regardless of your back history, regardless of your background, I think that everybody, or at least, real burp. Been drinking energy drinks all night, and as it turns out, it doesn't always sit well with my stomach. Anyway, you have that one individual that you were at one point in your life sure that you were going to spend the rest of your life with that person. That one person that is just forever in your mind holds this position above all else, just because they were your first love, or maybe your best love, or the best in bed, or for whatever reason, just that person that you were incredibly infatuated with, and the relationship or whatever happened ended before you felt it naturally should have, for whatever reason, right, wrong, or different. Sometimes you might have been the one that ended it, and you might end up obsessing over that individual for years to come. And I think, when you don't necessarily have natural closure in a relationship, when there's still kind of like an open-ended feeling, humans by nature have this weird thing that they do where we idolize and put these people on pedestals that they never really reached in the first place, or were never even capable of reaching in reality. Like, for instance, there was a girl that I was absolutely infatuated. There's several girls, but one in particular comes to mind. Can't say names because I don't want to get sued or yelled at. But there's a girl that comes to mind whenever I think about the one that got away. And bear in mind, I'm happily engaged. I've been with my current fiance for the better part of 5 years now. We own a house together. That should tell you about where I am with her. And I have no intention of ever leaving her or ever really having anybody else but her at this point in my life. I'm probably going to be with her for as long as, both of us can essentially tolerate each other, which is hopefully going to be a while yet. But in my mind, in my brain, I still have that one person that got away in high school that I idolize, that I think about, occasionally. You have those moments where you stop and you think, what if that date had just gone a little bit better? What if they had liked me just a little bit more? Just what if what's his name hadn't been in the way, or what if my timing had been just slightly better? What if I had just gone to college with them? What if I had made different choices that would have ended me up with that person? And the question that you constantly ask yourself is, would it be any better? And now those kind of lines of thinking are really bad. They're not healthy, because when you start thinking about the what ifs, you're not living in the current moment. You're not living in the real. You're trying to distract yourself from the reality of your current situation with something else. You're fantasizing about a better life, something that would have resulted in more happiness for you, even if it might not necessarily in reality would have. And then sometimes you're actually faced with the fact that you realize that person was wrong for you as well, because, speaking just as just from my own personal experience, I actually recently saw a picture, relatively recent picture of that individual that I had been previously infatuated with. And I have to say, it was one of those things where I'm like, wow, this person that I was convinced I was in love with really hasn't aged well. And kind of like, when you look at that photo or you look at who they were, you start to think, well, maybe they weren't how I idolized them. And all of the rose-colored glasses that you look upon the past with might be somewhat to entirely inaccurate. And then, hopefully you have those realizations. You're able to squash the what-ifs and, look back fondly and perhaps take it as a learning experience and hopefully be able to effectively move on in your life. But not everybody's able to do that, and I think that's the reason why what-ifs stick around so long for so many people. Okay, the scary thing for tonight, I have seen multiple flat tires, and that freaking freaks the hell out of me. Flat tires are freaking scary, because, especially for me, because I actually work. Okay, so I do ride sharing in Denver, but I actually live about 50 minutes south. I live in Colorado Springs. You can look it up. It's a big freaking city. I'm like, what am I worried you're going to find me? Whatever. Anyway, from the center of Denver to Colorado Springs, it's about a solid hour. And here's the stupid thing. I actually don't have a road sign on my car, so if I get freaking stuck in Denver, I am stuck in Denver. And I have a spare. Nice thing about driving a Subaru is that all of the Subarus have a full-size spare. And the reason for this is because Subarus actually, the four-wheel drive systems, and this is actually kind of another pain in the ass point, you can't replace just one tire on it. Because if the tread depths are more than, I think it's 30 seconds out of sync with each other, you start to have issues where you can cause severe damage to your differentials. If you don't know any of the stuff that I'm saying, don't worry about it. Your tire mechanic will tell you this, because it forces you to buy 4 new tires if one of them gets damaged. And they like that. And they will be more than happy to inform you of that when you're unfortunately at the tire shop with a busted tire. Anyway, so for me, if something goes horribly wrong with my car, and about one of the worst things that I can think of that can happen, that's a very legitimate concern. I mean, I could blow a head gasket, or I could have a timing belt snap, or I could have all kinds of horrible things befall my poor vehicle. But the most realistic one that's going to happen is likely to have a flat tire. And I've actually had a flat tire coming home. I didn't even realize I had a flat tire until I came out the next day and I looked at one of my rear, maybe that was rear right or something like that. The tire was completely flat. Great. And I destroyed it because apparently I'd driven on it for quite a while before, but it had just enough. Was losing air at such a rate that it had just enough air to get me home and not feel too funky. I only really noticed it at the last mile and a half. But still not enough air to keep it from getting kind of jacked up and whacked out, so I needed to buy all new tires. But still getting I've seen I just literally saw the second flat tire that I've seen in about maybe an hour period, and I've seen multiple people on the other side of the road. So I'm like, it's winter. This is a very odd time for blowouts to happen, and I'm just constantly paranoid. What if it's me next? What happens if I have tire happen and then I'm not able to continue doing my job? the weird panicky fears that you have late nights while trying to keep a sane, stable mind in your vehicle, because that's where you work, or at least that's where I work. One thing that I don't think I talk about a whole hell of a lot, but I definitely is on my mind occasionally, or a lot, or I guess just on my mind in general. I really freaking love airplanes. Airplanes are sincerely one of like the coolest things in my mind. Like the only thing I think cooler than airplanes to me is probably like spaceships. I mean, just like vehicle speaking. I mean, I freaking love cars too. Okay, I actually like a lot of mechanical things. All mechanical things are great, except for boats. Fuck boats. But airplanes are just, it's so fascinating that these huge giant metal tubes are able to achieve flight, are able to defy gravity, a force so powerful that most humans, most if not most, save for us, a handful, literally a handful of people, will never escape. You know, there's no escaping gravity. It's omnipresent. You know, you have to be an astronaut to be able to effectively get away from gravity, and even then, it's not true. It's not getting away from gravity forever. Essentially, you're just perpetually falling, or microgravity, as they call it, I guess. But so the fact that we can effectively, using physics and using math and using science and using all these wonderful things in this world, are able to essentially defy gravity and attain, you know, levitation off the ground is just, it's freaking awesome. It's just so goddamn cool. And I mean, even the way that the turbines work, how much thrust those things are able to generate, what they're able to do with them, I mean, just it's just absolutely beautiful when you think about the mechanical elegance and beauty of an airplane flying through the air. Now, a lot of people get paranoid about flying, which I get, you know, because if something goes horribly wrong in a car, let's say my engine explodes in my car, you know, worst case scenario, I basically pull over, like, you know, I might run into something, but usually I'm able to pull over the side of the road and I'll be alright. My car's going to be destroyed, but ultimately I'm going to be fine. The problem in an airplane is just, like, you know, if your engine explodes or something, if there's, like, you know, a catastrophic failure, it's not necessarily something that you're going to be able to easily recover from. You know, it's very much something in some cases that may result in fatalities, and a lot of times does result in fatalities, even though flying is substantially safer than driving a car by far. You know, statistics easily prove that, but, you know, there's still people apparently flying. I just personally am fascinated with it, because even if I were to die in an airplane crash, I would be dying in a way, being struck down by the gods for defying them and achieving what only birds were meant to achieve. You know, I think that it's definitely a true treat to be able to experience flight in whatever, even if you're just a passenger or a hang glider or whatever it is that you're doing, just being able to, you know, be one with the sky for just a little bit. It's cool shit. It's really cool shit. Oh, sweet Jesus, it's light out now. Yeah, it's like 7:25, almost 7:30. And I was actually planning on recording this intro about like 2 or 3 hours ago, but it suddenly got like busy and I haven't had a break until like literally like the last 5 minutes. So, I'm taking this opportunity to go ahead and sign off here. I know, I do appreciate you guys hanging out with me as I ramble my way through another night in Denver, Colorado. But anyway, it's been fun. If you like the video, like, comment, favorite, subscribe, do all the things that the internet loves to tell you to do. And me personally, I'm going to call it a night and I'm going to head home and get some well-deserved sleep. Cheers.